Man Publishing, and Frank Fiore, host of the Frank Fiore Show. How are you, Frank? And we're going to talk today about your being a multi-genre author, and that's a mouthful, isn't it? And in so many ways, isn't it? Kind of define what you think a multi-genre author is, and how you kind of are out of the box in so many different categories.
Well, I go after what I'm interested in. And there's the old saw that says, write what you know, but nope, you should write what you can know. And if I'm interested in a particular genre or category, then and I have a story idea for it, then I just research it out. And so it is challenging, but you got a lot of resources out there. My original books, I have the resource material down in my garage. Basically, I used library books, bought books. I didn't use the web that much. Then, as my other books, I started writing my other books, and then the web became very important and very useful in order to do my research. And now with it's so much easier because AI brings all that information together in a way, the digestible way that I can use. And it's really helping me not only do the research, but it's helping me as a coach. And so the AI is helping me, coaching me through a book, and that's exactly the difference. Is coaches, yet they're not writing here. AI is not writing my book. They just give me ideas, and I develop them with them. So if you're going to be a multi-genre author like I am, that's very helpful because I could the AI will just coach me in any direction that I want.
And that's the key thing is coach you in any way you want. And but remember, Frank, you've been doing it for so many years. You're not giving yourself enough credit. When did you start writing and what genres are you writing in right now?
Well, I started writing seriously around the year 2000. That's where Cyberkill, my first book, came out, and there was a lot of research there, and that came out in the year 2000. And then I have a file folder, a file cabinet, where I have folders that have ideas in them. And I say, gee, this is an interesting idea. I didn't care about the genre, just what it's an interesting idea. And I would throw it in this 8.5 by 11 manila folder. And every time I find something on the web or I discover something on television or I run across a book, or anything like that, I take that information or that idea and I put it in that file folder. So after a while, the file folder is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as I keep throwing information in it. And when it gets at a certain size, I look at it and go, wow, there's a book. And then I apply my book writing strategy to it, which is really simple. You set up a wireframe, I call it, of a plot. And you take that wireframe, the beginning, middle, and end. What's the basic idea of the timeline of what happens? But in order to uh, create the plot, you need or to drive the plot, you need characters. Characters drive plot. And so then I said, okay, now what character am I going to use here to get to this plot point in order to make this plot get driven? And but that's not enough because you have to say characters have to be motivated, and it's motivation that drives characters, which drives plot. And by just using that simple formula, I create a book.
And that's crazy. I mean, you're able to do that. But let's go to Paul real quick because Paul, you're not a multi-genre author. Why do you feel that you're in one category pretty much with writing in so many ways?
Well, it sorry.
Good.
Well, it actually has to do with my experiences as a young guy. So that's what I know, and so that's what I write about. And when those stories kind of come to an end, that I don't have anything else to write about, I may look at another genre. But this one has treated me really well. Um, I actually just published a book last month, and it actually debuted at number one. So in espionage thrillers. So I'm not playing with a good thing. I'm just taking my time with that same subject. So um, that's where my interest lies now. It's just the one subject.
And you always talked about, Paul, that you gotta keep writing, right? If you look back at your original book versus the series, you've become better and better as a writer throughout that process.
Oh, absolutely. Every book I write is a better written book. It's you know, I don't know if it's a better plot or anything like that, but it's better written because you learn as you go, and you know, just like Frank does, is you learn as you go, and you apply what you know to the next book and to the next book after that. So there's the writing skill that you need to do as and that applies to then the framework and then the characters and the plot. Certainly.
Absolutely. Frank, and I think one thing you didn't toot your horn enough about is you were a best-selling author right off the bat with a business book. So you went from business to cyberkill, from cyberkill to history, from history on into westerns. But you've always had a plan when you're writing about those things. But kind of explain, the first success with your business book, how that kind of took everything off to getting published, becoming a published author, and really moving the needle.
The I got very involved on the web with online shopping when it was first coming out. And there was a company called About.com that was going to, they wanted to set up a website of guides, and they had like 200, 300, or 400 guides at a particular category. And they had the online shopping guide open. And so I applied for it and I got it. And because of being the online shopping guide for About, I was approached by, uh, was it a publisher who they wanted to do the publish a Idiot's Guide. And so they would need Idiot's Guide to Online Shopping, and they asked me if I could do it. And I said, "You never say no." Yeah, I could, yes, I can, because they saw me as about shopping guide, so did it. And I said, well, what do you need the book by? So it's got to be done in 2 months. What do you mean 2 months? And so, boy, I just slaved over that thing and got it done in 2 months, and it sold. And it was very popular because online shopping at the time was really, really good. And so the book was about the idiot's guide to starting an online business. Okay. And so I sold 25,000 copies of that book. Second edition, they put under of a tech TV show, and sold another 25,000. So that launched my nonfiction books. I got a whole bunch of books in nonfiction, and so but I wanted to go to novels, and that's what I ended up with. And not only that, but screenplays. I took one of my westerns, turned it into a screenplay, and made a sizzle reel out of it. And they'll see that on my website. Just go to Jonathan Smythe, Cowboy Sleuth, and you'll see the trailer that we hope to raise money to do the feature. And that's where I'm headed. I want to do two things. I want to help people with their stories, right? Based on the knowledge that I've built and the techniques that I built, that I use. And I want to be able to turn my books into movies. And that's my two goals.
Wild stuff for sure. And I think, Paul, that the journey of an author is not giving up, isn't it? Isn't that true?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right on the money.
Because if you give up, then Paul, explain. I mean, how you just keep plugging away and keep going because this is your passion.
Yeah, if you give up, it's sort of like if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So you have to actually can keep going and if you're serious about writing, keep going until the end of the book, right? Just keep writing and you know that if that's your passion, then you will keep going. If you don't, then you just stop. So I mean, it's the way people are, right? You either like it or you don't.
And if you're good at it, Paul, and you've shown that at times with the feedback and what you've done, and people love your writing, you just got to get more and more people to know you're writing all the time. I think the mistake authors make is they write one book and they think they're done. And Frank, explain that. And that's what, as a writing coach, when you work with somebody, you're going to tell them you have to have a plan laid out to not just write one book.
Well, that's how I help them. In fact, the strategy, if you're lucky, right, is that you build a library of books behind you. Because if one of your books really hits and becomes popular, they're going, your readers are going to say, "Geez, what else did he write?" Uh, was it Jim John Brown or whatever, the guy that wrote the Da Vinci Code? He had four other books, three other books that he's written went nowhere. Okay, but then when the Da Vinci Code came out, bam, they all went back and say, "Gee, what else did he write?" And of course, those other books just exploded. So you should keep writing as many books as you can. By doing that, you always have a library back there, or they call it a back library that people then will go and say, "Gee, I want to see what else he writes." And me being a multi-genre author, if they like one of my books in whatever genre, hopefully they'll go back and look at my other genre and buy my other books. The Westerns is very interesting because I didn't plan on writing a Western. I had no uh, outlines or file folder that had that Western ideas in there. But I had a publisher many years ago, and he was deep into Westerns and became good friends. And he said, "You should write." I asked, and I said, "Look, what genre is like romance and novels. The women pick up a romance novel, they don't care. They pick it up. It says the romance novel, they buy it automatically." And he said, so what genre is like that? He goes, Westerns. I said, what do you mean Westerns? He goes, yeah, you put a horse on the cover and a gunfighter or something. And these guys that read Westerns, they'll buy it. And I said, well, what the hell do I know? I'm from Brooklyn. I don't know anything about Westerns. And he said, look, you're a writer, ain't you? And that was the key. Which is something what I tell people. I said, are you a writer? Then it doesn't make any difference. And he gave me an outline for a book, for a Western. I wrote it, and then they published it, and it became a bestseller in England. So I said, gee, this is pretty good. So that's what started me out on the Westerns.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's where we go in so many ways is to keep going. And Frank, I guess when you talk about multi-genre, what is your favorite genre to write?
Well, that's hard to say because people ask me that. I mean, the techno thriller Cyberkill was a lot of fun, okay, and the historical fiction is World War II, which I'm a World War II, what do you call them, honk, okay? I really like World War II, but then the action adventure, I get tied up with National Treasure, the movies, and say, gee, I could write something like that. And basically, the Jeremy Nash Chronicles, that's where he has to figure out all these clues. It's an action adventure, and it really moves fast. And then when I went to Africa, I spent a lot of time in Africa on safari, and I really fell in love with the country, and I fell in love with the tribes, and specifically the Maasai tribe, with their culture and everything. It's really fascinating because the Maasai are very close to the cowboys of the West, the cattlemen, and uh, and I wrote this story called Moran about a young boy goes to a Maasai village and becomes a Maasai warrior and fulfills his need to be as he goes through the rites of passage. So it's a rites of passage book, and it's really good. So I like that also.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we got, where you got to go. And Paul, what's a big advice you would offer authors starting writing books?
Um, well, probably pay no attention much to media and write what you want to write and write your own story, use your own voice. Um, and then get into what Frank is talking about writing chapters as scenes in a book so that you can visualize what it is that you're seeing there and so on and so forth. So and Frank can get into a lot more detail on those kind of subjects.
Absolutely. And what's the best place people can go, Frank, to check you out? Is go to frankfiore.com, right?
All right.
Absolutely. And you can learn about the marketing he does. I mean, marketing, how he does publishing, and also coaches. Appreciate it, guys.